It's rights. It's not just politics.
Yeah.
And I've been in situations where I was bringing up somebody that was trans, and a person happened to be a person that never wants to talk about politics. You know, can you guess probably where they lean? But how dare you, with me bringing up something about a trans issue, say I don't want to go there. That's political.
Catch Out Chicago every Sunday, 11 to 1 on WCPT 820.
Just because things are starting to cool down doesn't mean you have to. Behind the wheel of a Porsche from the Porsche Exchange, things are always heating up. Right now, lease the new 2023 Porsche Taycan for only $12.99 a month for 39 months. Or stop in and test drive the new 2024 Porsche Cayenne. Visit the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park or PorscheExchange.com. $1,299 due at signing. Excludes tax, title, license, and doc fee. No security deposit required. Expires 10/2/23.
Hey, did you know Vistaprint prints everything a small business needs? Like if a barbershop needs signage, we print outdoor signs, posters, and banners. Or if a ballet school needs merch,
1, 2,
we print tote bags, t-shirts, hoodies, hats. Or if a coffee shop needs a total refresh,
latte for Mike.
Vistaprint designs logos and prints it on menus, mugs, paper bags, anything. Because with Vistaprint, the printabilities are endless. Print it all with 25% off for new customers with code NEW25 at Vistaprint.com.
If you're 19 or older with certain underlying medical conditions such as asthma or diabetes, you can get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia, a potentially serious bacterial lung disease that can disrupt your life for weeks. If you're 65 or older, it is also recommended you get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia. No matter the season, talk to your doctor about vaccination today and learn more at lung.org/protect yourself. A message from the American Lung Association in collaboration with Pfizer.
Furnished by the American Lung Association.
The following program, Real Estate Radio, is sponsored by Trusted Agent USA and to the extent applicable, their guests. The views and opinions expressed therein do not necessarily reflect those of NewsWeb Radio Company or its management.
Welcome to Real Estate Radio, hosted by the real estate therapist Larry Shakman, a top producing real estate broker, author, CEO, and founder of TrustedAgentUSA.com, the ultimate real estate matchmaker, connecting you with top performing agents for 2% commission. Each week, we bring you exclusive interviews with industry experts, covering everything from staging to negotiation strategies to home inspection issues and everything in between. Whether you're selling your home, a first-time home buyer, or a seasoned investor, we've got you covered. Let's make your real estate dreams a reality in this fast-moving and ever-changing real estate market. This program is funded in whole or in part by Trusted Agent USA, Illinois license number 475-145-795. Now, here's Larry.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to Real Estate Radio. Another Saturday of reaching our real estate zen. I am, of course, the real estate therapist, so any real estate emergencies that you guys have, give us a call at 773-763-9278. You can text or call us at that number, 773-763-9278. We're, of course, joined by our co-host, Dylan Kramer.
Glad to be here, Larry. Thanks for having me, as always.
Benchmark Mortgage, great to have you here. Again, our call-in number is 773-763-9278. You can text or call us there. And you can watch us live if you choose to do so. Go to WCPT 820 on Facebook and go to at Larry Shakman, LarryShakman, on YouTube. So check us out, and we got a lot to cover today. So I've been a real estate agent for about 23 years. I work with, buyers, sellers, investors. So if you need any help at all, get in touch with me, 630-921-0611. If you need to get a solid pre-approval, you need to get in touch with my buddy Dylan Kramer at Benchmark Mortgage.
Larry, people can get a hold of me anytime at call or text 630-708-7088.
Yeah, so before we go any further, I just want to thank our segment sponsors, and that is, first and foremost, Benchmark Mortgage. Secondly, At Home Title Services. If you are a real estate broker in the state of Illinois and you want to add a really, really important menu item to the services that you offer your sellers. Check out athometitleservices.com and sign up for their virtual event, which is happening on October, I want to check this real quick so I get this right, but it's happening on October 18th, and learn how to become a registered title agent. By the way, get trained for free. And also, finally, TrustedAgentUSA.com. Buy, sell, or invest with the top agents in your area and save a ton of money. Okay, let's move on. I want to cover something real quick because we got a little contest today. So I have an open house on Sunday.
We're doing this again?
Yeah, check this out, though.
I love it.
This is going to be a little different. This is going to a little tougher. But if you get the answer right, you're going to win a $50 gift certificate to Freedom Brothers Pizza. So listen up. You got to call in with the answer at 773-763-9278. So I'm doing an open house this Sunday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at 2 South 220 Hawthorne Lane in Wheaton. So this house is listed at 2.25, okay? Beautiful house on 2 acres.
So a little more affordable than last week's house?
A little bit. It's on 2.2 acres, and it's situated between the Chicago Golf Club and Seven Gables Park. It's like your own little sanctuary. The house was built in 1978. Okay, so remember now, it's listed for $2.250. What do you think that house would cost? What is the replacement cost on that house as of December 2022? Now, here's the thing. We know lumber prices have gone down a little.
Right.
And so that's a good thing. And some other things have opened up a little, like supply side. But what do you think it would cost to replace that house right now? Well, as of December of 2022, what would it cost to replace that house that we're listed for $2.25? If you wanted to build that house new, what would you pay to do that? And if you know the answer to that, and here's the kicker, all you got to do is get within $100,000 one way or the other. So if you can call up at 773-763-9278 and tell me what it would cost to a replacement cost on that 2.25 listing, you're going to win a $50 gift certificate and go have some amazing food at Freedom Brothers Pizza, either in Plainfield or in Naperville.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah. So let's see if anybody wins. No one won last week guessing what the taxes were.
You know, I thought you were trying to actually help Freedom Brothers get a little people in the door, and apparently you're trying to actually hide that gift certificate for yourself.
There you go. Thank you. So, yeah, last week, actually the taxes on that house last week, we had people guessing anywhere from $10,500, which was far off, to $65,000, which was a little more. The taxes on that house before it sells and gets reassessed is currently $55,000. So we had a couple people that were close.
That's a big tax bill, Larry. That's all I can say.
It's you better have a few kids in school.
That's definitely what they call upper bracket, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, 773-763-9278. If you think you know what it costs to replace a $2.25 million home in Wheaton at December 2022 prices, taking into account that lumber was a little more expensive back then, give us a call. Let us know what you think it is. And if you're within $100,000 either way, guess what? You are going to win a $50 gift certificate and be able to go out to lunch with Dylan Kramer, who is extremely entertaining when he's had a few margaritas in it. Yeah, right?
Yeah, give me one margarita.
Hey, the Exotic Vulture. If you go there, that's the margarita to get. The Exotic Vulture.
Duly noted.
That's also a, I forgot what band. All of their drinks are named after bands. And that is the band starts with a P, And I know Devin or Stephanie know the name of this band.
Pearl Jam, Pink Floyd.
No, it's the Pixies. Pixies, yeah. Exotic Vulture.
That is a non-real estate rabbit hole, my friend.
Yeah, there it is. Oh, we got more. We're going down more rabbit holes today. So, listen, let's jump into just some basic what's going on in the market, rates, and the Fed meeting.
Sure.
What do we got?
We got nothing but average to worse than average news out of the Fed. I think that, the takeaway from Wednesday's Fed meeting and Mr. Powell's statement is that they are going to continue to hold rates higher for longer. Now, as I've argued over the course of the last few months here, I think that eventually the market will figure out where rates need to be. But for now, the Fed is raising rates. The Fed sees inflation. The Fed wants 2% inflation, and they don't see it. And even though we've had inflation moderating from, you mentioned lumber prices coming down and other things that have become reasonably more affordable, until we get inflation back to 2%, the Fed is going to be at least threatening to, if not actually raising rates. And so the market reaction from Wednesday afternoon to Friday was to move rates higher again still. So I think that, we're starting to see rates in the high sevens rather than the mid sevens. But it's not such a big move, Larry. If you were qualified for your mortgage last week at, 7.5 and you're a $300,000 borrower, it might be $50 a month more expensive. It's annoying, but if it's the right house for you, it's not so expensive. It's going to take away your opportunity to get the right house.
Game, yeah. So the Feds, again, they did not raise rates this last meeting in September. They are indicating there's probably one more rate hike before the end of the year, but they've also indicated they don't see they don't see huge rate hikes happening in 2024.
Well, God love them if they're right. The thing I have always mentioned, but it bears a quick explanation again, is remember the Fed is in charge of the shortest rate in the economy, right? That's the overnight lending rate from banks to banks. The 30-year mortgage is the longest rate in the economy. And so they have a related effect, but there's not a correlation. So when I look, and I'm sitting here on my computer so you can see me if we're doing this online, but if you look at this chart, Larry, which I'm going to show you here, you can see this is this week in rates, right? Here's Friday where things moderated, but you can see Wednesday, basically, here's the drop. And so that drop in the market is based on the idea that they know the Fed's going to be in there. So that's the long rate reaction to the short-term decision of the Fed.
Awesome. Hey, we got a call we're going to take right now, and if I had to guess, it's somebody that's going to try and guess that replacement call. Who do we have on the line?
B.
Who's this?
B.
Me?
B.
Got you, B. Okay, so B, I'm going to assume you're calling to give us your opinion on what you think that replacement cost would be as of December 2022, when again, lumber prices were a little higher for a house that's currently priced at $2.25. If you were going to build that house right now, what do you think the replacement cost would be?
$9.25 million.
No, but I will build that house and I will sell it to you for $8 million.
Oh, you will, huh?
Yeah, it's a little high. That's a little high, but you know what? It's a little high, but we appreciate the guess and keep listening.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay, I'll see you later. Have a great day and a great weekend. So, yeah, that's a little bit high. It would not cost $9 million. But, yeah, give us a call if you think you know the answer to that, 773-763-9278. What would it cost to replace a $2.25 million house in Wheaton sitting on 2 acres? What would it cost as of December 2022? to replace that house. Okay, so we talked about the Fed a little bit. We talked about how rates correlate, whether they're long-term or short-term rates. I mean, typically when the Fed raises their rate, you're going to see your credit card rates go up a little bit. You're going to see your car loan rates go up a little bit. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but you may not see your 30-year mortgage rate go up. However, now why are rates 30-year mortgage rates going up if the Fed isn't raising their rate?
The answer is inflation expectations. So when the Fed announces, hey, we're going to hold rates today, but we're probably going with an increase in November, what they're announcing to the market is they don't have inflation where they want it. They see more inflation in the economy, and the inflation expectations are high. And mortgage rates move based on inflation expectations, whereas the Fed funds rate moves directly related to what the Fed does.
Yeah, we have to start looking on the bright side, right? Because here's the thing. What are we at right now? What's our inflation rate? Are we still around 3.2%?
Yeah, about.
Okay, so we went from 9-point-something% to 3.2% in a year. We're in the right direction. We're about a point away from where we really, really want to be. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's how those rates correlate. The other thing is, there's a couple of just real quick things I want to just bullet point off here. So the jobless claims are at the lowest since January. So that indicates we still have a pretty robust job market, which is good.
I think job market, I think it's a double-edged sword a little bit, Larry. I mean, I'm not for people being unemployed. When we have a healthy job market, people can afford houses and are earning incomes, and that's great for housing. The challenge, or the flip side, based on the point you just made, if everybody's employed, the Fed feels like that's inflationary pressure in the marketplace because people are earning money. It's a little bit of a kind of perverted incentive, if you will, for the big picture economy. But good employment is not necessarily great for rates, even though it's great for incomes. Yeah. So you win some, you lose some.
Well, and here's the thing, though. So if you're in your 30s now and you're looking to buy a house, and the median price of a house right now is about $407,000 nationally.
Sure.
Okay. If you're in your 30s right now, you are spending about 36% of your income for housing. Now, back in the day, when boomers were buying houses, you were paying about 23% or 25% of your income to buy a house for housing, right? So it's gone up precipitously because low inventory, and it's just really putting upward pressure on home prices.
Right.
And yeah.
Well, I think we talked a little bit about the demographics over time, right, Larry? And I don't think I think those pressures are going to contain or remain in the housing market relative to prices. So I think that there's a real, the reality of the situation is this: housing is, and look, let's put the bottom line up front. Housing's way more expensive than it was 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
Owning or renting.
For sure. So with housing being that much more expensive, then that doesn't necessarily make buying a place a bad deal. It just makes it less of a good deal than it was 2 years ago. Yeah. And if you've heard the term recency bias, right? So if it means for you've got to turn around and do your projections. We've got tools that we look, I have access to every zip code in the country and the projected growth rate over the next 5 years. So even if you're looking at a particular property, whether it's a $2.2 million house in Wheaton or it's a $407,000 average house anywhere else in our market, the fact of the matter is that if you're going to grow in a zip code 5% a year for the next 5 years, you're going to have a $500,000 house if you buy a $407,000 house today. And that's if you buy at 7%. If you end up, and there's been a lot of talk in our market, both on the real estate side and the mortgage side. We've said it here over time. You're like, marry the house, date the rate. Your rate's not permanent, blah, blah, blah. What if it is? What if You've heard me say this. What do we have to do business today at 7.5, give or take? At the end of the day, if your house appreciates that amount per year and you end up with a $500,000 house, that's $100,000 in equity over the next 5 years with rates at 7.5. So at the end of the day, I just think that it's really difficult to turn around and make decisions on only what's happened over the last little bit of time. Over the last 100 years, there have been maybe 5 years where housing went down. And 3 of them were 2007, 8, 9, right? And so the fact of the matter is, housing is more often than not flat to rising in our economy. And if you want to turn around and impact your net worth as somebody, especially somebody younger, you have so much time to turn around and have the appreciation work for you. To balk at 7% when you can afford it because it's not 4 is just it's $100,000 mistake in the example that I've made here.
Listen, if you're renting right now, if you're in your late 20s, mid 20s to mid 30s, you're still renting, or early 30s even, give me a call at 630-921-0611. Dylan and I will get you into your own property where, guess what? You're building your own equity instead of your landlord's equity. It really is the key to wealth, one of the keys to wealth in this country.
You know, Larry, one of the things, and you just kind of hinted at it, but I'm going to say it bluntly. If you continue to rent,
no swearing.
It was close.
Okay.
If you continue to rent, you are doing the following. You are paying a mortgage. It's just not yours. You're paying your landlord's mortgage. Most mortgages, right? $350,000 mortgage on a $400,000 house, give or take in this market, is going to pay roughly $800 a month towards the principal of the loan. So if you're paying a $2,000 mortgage payment and your landlord's paying $1,500 in a mortgage payment, maybe putting $500 in their pocket, most of that is interest, some of that is taxes, but you're paying about $800 a month or $10,000 a year of their mortgage equity.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you just do that for yourself?
That's not a good idea. It's just not a good idea.
It's bad personal finance.
Exactly. Guys, stop renting. I get it. You're used to seeing in the last couple, not even the last couple of years, but a couple of years ago, 2-3% mortgages. Forget it. They're not coming back. We're at a very normal, more stabilized mortgage market right now. And I don't see rates, personally, I don't see rates going below probably 6.5% in the next 8 to 10 months even.
Oh, there's absolutely not. I mean, I here's the thing. I think there's a real risk that rates go to 9 before they go to 6.
I'm taking my headphones off. I'm leaving. Bye. No.
Out of the possibilities of things that could happen.
Yeah.
And that's just the Fed, this current Fed's stated thing on inflation. We still see oil prices rising. We still see housing prices rising. We still have things costing more, even when we have things like lumber and some other stuff moderating in cost.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, I think that the most important thing is if I'm right and rates are going higher from here and you're still renting, then the conversation really needs to be, hey, can I buy now at 7.5 before they go higher?
Exactly. No, absolutely. And that is such a good point. You're not going to wait the market out and win.
Correct.
It's not happening. Yeah, and it's impossible to predict, but so we don't really know where it's all going. So here's an interesting stat. So housing starts are at their lowest point since 2020. So builders are starting to get a little nervous as well. But juxtaposed to that is building permits have increased. So there's still that optimism for the future because although housing starts have slowed, building permits have risen a little bit. So there's that, again, it's kind of weird, right? It's like all these facts fighting each other.
You're exactly right, and I think that you can make whatever case you want. Right? There's always an argument about what do we have going on, and the other thing is, you've heard the cliche: there's lies, damn lies, and statistics.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And so I think you could tell kind of whatever story you want to tell with some of these figures, but I think that the most important thing is to take all this information that we've discussed here in the first 20 minutes that we've been talking and ask yourself, what's the big picture? And the big picture, again, is even in this current situation, maybe especially in this situation, it might be the most attractive time
Absolutely.
to acquire a piece of real estate that we'll have over the next 2 years.
Especially if you're doing something that we discussed over the last 2 weeks, which is house hacking, and you go buy a 3-flat, live in one of the units, put down 3.5% on an FHA loan, and have other people pay your mortgage. I mean, get creative. Take a look at this, and if you're renting, get serious about buying. Because you're going to.
No, you know what, Larry? It's funny. I was working with so I have a longtime client who unfortunately was getting divorced and had to dispose of an investment property as part of the settlement, and so he let the tenants know, hey, I'm going to put the place on the market, mostly because we need to access for showings and all this other stuff, right? Well, one of the tenants reached out to me, and he was paying $1,100 a month in rent for his unit, and my client investor did really, really well. He bought the property about 5 years ago and sold it for about 45% more than he paid for it. Again, growth in the value over time. So he's made a couple of $100,000 on this 3-unit property. This guy reached out to me. He's like, hey, maybe I could buy the place. Well, he didn't get serious about his pre-approval. He kind of kicked the tires. They sold it to somebody else before he could do that. He called me Thursday. He was like, they just told me my $1,100 rent's going to be $2,000 a month starting December 1st. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. You're not in control of your real estate situation if you don't own. He could have turned around and controlled the other 2 rents in his building and kept his payment at $1,100 or less, potentially. But unfortunately, he turned around, waited, and now he's in a situation where he's out of luck.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? Here's the thing. I don't care whether you're a buyer or a seller. Time is your enemy when it comes to real estate. If you see a house you love and you wait to put an offer in on it, I guarantee you there's other people that love that house that are writing up offers as you're thinking about it. And if you then decide to put an offer in on it, you're in a multiple offer situation. You've just cost yourself more money.
For sure.
If you're a seller and the longer you're on the market, the farther away you're getting from your list price. It's that simple. And that leads us into, I was reading this Axios article about how fixer-uppers in Chicagoland specifically are kind of scaring buyers away because and that's because they have all this pressure with perceived interest rates, that are astronomical at 7.5% or whatever, and they have prices, upward pressure on prices, so they're not really looking to buy a fixer-upper and have to dump a bunch of money in on top of those other 2 factors.
Well, I think the third I didn't see the article, Larry, but that all makes sense to me. But the other thing that I would tell you is I think that there's a real HGTV factor in play, right? Like we've had house porn TV for 15 years now, and everybody wants to move into a place that's finished and move-in ready and looks great and is ready to go. And it's so funny because the shows give you a behind-the-scenes look of people fixing the houses, and then people move into the finished product. And people want that finished product, but they don't want the work associated with fixing it up. And as we've talked about before, whether it's renovation loans or other solutions, getting in and getting a deal and doing the work is where you can really impact your equity and
Absolutely.
impact your personal net worth.
Especially if you can do the work yourself. If
Yes.
you can't, you can still accomplish that same thing.
For sure.
So here's the thing, guys. If you're selling, the best way to sell is to, what I would suggest is get a pre-listing home inspection, find out everything wrong with your house, and fix as much of it as possible. That's going to make that whole journey through the negotiation and negotiating home inspection issues much easier. Also, get your curb appeal and get all of your ducks in a row as far as your staging and preparing your house to put your best foot forward right from the get-go, right from Jump Street, because you are never more sought after than when you first come on the market. So if you want to know how to do those things, check out my new book, The Top 10s of Real Estate. Go to chapter 23, the top 15 things sellers do to increase curb appeal.
Nice.
Or you can go to chapter 25 and check out the top 10 ways to increase your home's demand. And one of the ways you increase your home's demand is to price it right. So we'll leave those two things there. You want to sell your home for top dollar, make sure you have it staged and in its best condition when you have that first buyer walk through the house. So super, super important. Hey, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to be right back and talk about reverse mortgages.
Tune in to Real Estate Radio Saturdays at 9 a.m. hosted by the real estate therapist Larry Shakman, a top-producing real estate broker, author, CEO, and founder of TrustedAgentUSA.com. Top-performing agents for 2% commission, saving you thousands when you sell, buy, or invest. Real Estate Radio, the ultimate real estate radio experience. Get insider tips from experts throughout the real estate industry. Streaming live on Facebook at WCPT 820. Trusted Agent USA Illinois, license number 475145795. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio, sponsored in part by TrustedAgentUSA.com, the ultimate real estate matchmaker, saving you thousands. Now back to Larry, the real estate therapist.
All right, you guys, we are back, and thanks again for joining us for Real Estate Radio. We are here every Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m. with our illustrious co-host, Dylan Kramer, Benchmark Mortgage, and we are going to jump in and talk about reverse mortgages. Now, the bottom line with reverse mortgages is this. Let's say you own a home for $600,000, and it's paid off, $600,000 home, it's paid off, and you want to move down, let's say, this is just one example, you want to move down to maybe a smaller townhome for $400,000.
Right.
Well, a reverse mortgage, rather than making a payment, you're going to get a payment. So, Dylan, jump in on that.
Well, you know, Larry, you're in the neighborhood,
Okay.
but this is why I'm the mortgage expert on the show, right?
you.
So here's the thing: if you're one of the things we're seeing a lot more interest in is the idea that you can use a reverse mortgage to purchase a house. So using your example, if you own a $600,000 house and you're going to move down to a $400,000 house, we've seen examples where people have done the math on that sort of move down. And because of the rise in interest rates over the course of the last couple of years, which we've discussed at length on this program, we find ourselves in a situation where the monthly payment, if you're signing up for a traditional mortgage, is about the same. Mm-hmm. So you're not really giving yourself a break from a monthly payment standpoint financially when you go get a traditional mortgage. So if you own that place and you are going to turn around and have your proceeds, you can turn around and get yourself a reverse mortgage and have no payment whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Now, there are a bunch of different ways to kind of structure it. Like you said, there's, reverse mortgages have a lot of different versions. I mean, the thing that is it obstructs the clarity or obstructs the truth about reverse mortgages. It is the most flexible product in the mortgage market, but it's unfortunately sold to folks very much like, hey, if you have equity in your house or an almost paid off house and you have no cash, well, we can help you get money. And certainly there's a place for that, right? It's a thing that can work from a reverse mortgage standpoint. But the thing is that that's not even the best candidate for the reverse mortgage, right? The best candidate is somebody who is in a situation where they're partially but not completely prepared for retirement, right? They're not broke, but for example, they've got $1 million, $1.2 million, $1.5 million in 401ks and other investments. They've got a house. Maybe there's a small mortgage. Maybe it's paid off, but they don't have enough money where whatever that number is it 2 point, the financial planners will tell you that it's somewhere between 2.3 and 3.5 or $4 million, where you're like, I'm really, no matter what age I am, I can live off the interest. I'm never going to run out of money, right? No matter what the market does, no matter this, no matter that.
Right.
But there's a lot of people in the middle that are really well, but not fully prepared. And so what the reverse mortgage can help them do is manage their risk over time, right? So if you come in, it'll behave like a home equity line of credit in one version of it, where you say, hey, I'm going to buy this house. I'll buy this $400,000 house. Maybe I'll put $200,000 down. You can make a payment every month if you want. You just make a payment. You can make a payment to the interest that rang up in the month. You could make a payment to amortize it. You could come into an extra $20,000 and knock the balance down by $20,000, or you could make no payment at all. And people are going to, or the lender is never going to turn around and start chasing you or hounding you for a payment or foreclose. Whereas folks who do an equity line, they're like, I could just pay the interest on an equity line, or it's flexible. You have to make a monthly payment. Every 10 years, sometimes every 5, they want you to come back and reapply so they can collect the second set of fees, and just make sure your income's there so you make the payment. And if you don't make your payment on your equity line, if your equity line's smaller, or even in this same example, it's a $200,000 equity line, you have $400,000 piece of property, they'll turn around and start threatening to take the property if you don't make a payment. In the reverse mortgage situation, they just add it to the balance. And people get worried over time, like, hey, are we going to, and we're going to lose our house? Is the government going to take my house? Or am I going to lose my house because I got a reverse mortgage? And the answer is no. The fact of the matter is, it's a mortgage just like any other loan. The program that does most reverse mortgages is an FHA program. So that's where they get where they get the government myth of the government's going to take my home. What the FHA does is provide insurance. And they provide the following insurance. Let's say, again, $400,000 house. You have a $200,000 balance, and that's somebody who's 62, which is the youngest you can be to secure a reverse mortgage. So let's say you have a $200,000 balance, and you depart us 35 years from now at 97 years old, and the balance on that loan, because you never made a payment and they added the interest every month, is $605,000. But the house can only be, the property can only be sold for $575,000. So there's a $30,000 shortage. At the end of the day, the FHA's insurance arm will pay the lender the gap between.
They'll pay that delta between.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
So that's what the insurance is for. Literally, it's the same sort of idea as the FHA.
I was
PMI
not
or
aware of
MIP.
that most reverse mortgages are FHA.
Yes, absolutely. It is a HUD pro. The base program is a HUD program. There are some private market ones, but the FHA, or the HECM, Home Equity Conversion Mortgage Program, through FHA.
Know them well through my REO days.
Yeah.
We sold a lot of HECM properties.
Yeah. And so that's absolutely a thing. And so the thing is that oftentimes what'll happen is a senior will have a great experience with the reverse mortgage, and then they'll pass, or they'll go to the nursing home, and their kids come in. And there's this sort of situation, right? $605,000 balance, $575,000 sales price. There's a delta. The house is sold. Now the house is gone. And the kids will turn around and say, well, the government took my mom's house. No. Your mom got a mortgage. She lived in the house for 35 years, in essence, payment free, and was able to stay in the house that she wanted to stay in until her time was up with us. And now we're just closing the books. Nobody's taking anything. there are just so many advantages for the right consumer that, especially in this market where people are not necessarily netting the absolute top dollar, right? It's not where we were a couple of years ago where people were paying $40,000 or $50,000 extra for property.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have to sell at a fair market price and you're going to be $50,000, $100,000 short, the decision then for some seniors is, do I not buy a $600,000 house? Do I buy a $475,000 house? I don't want to live in this $475,000 house. It's not the right property for me. It doesn't. It's the wrong neighborhood. It's the wrong community. It doesn't have the amenities I want. I can't get a ranch, which sometimes sell at a premium depending on where things are at. Whatever the case is, are you going to buy that $475,000 house, or could you get the $600,000 house that you want with a $125,000 reverse mortgage to, again, fill the delta and not be obligated to make a payment every month? Again, have the flexibility to make one.
Is this a popular program right now, reverse mortgages?
The reverse mortgage is growing in popularity every day, but it is still an undiscovered gem of a financial product.
And a lot of people have gotten kind of the wrong information through a lot of goofy TV commercials.
Again, the call center mortgage lenders, which we've talked about in a bunch of different ways before on this program, they're always looking to scale leads, right? So they're selling, through handsome spokespeople who are about 65, 68, 70 years old, right? Tom Selleck is one of them. They're selling the insomniacs who are up worried about their finances in the middle of the night. Hey, maybe a reverse mortgage will solve your problem. And that generates leads. Given that, I think that you have to do your research and understand the product because in essence, much like Zillow, once you become somebody's lead, they're selling to you rather than informing you.
Consulting.
And really the transparency and that integrity part of it is so important to understanding the reverse mortgage product.
Yeah. So, reverse mortgages, if you're thinking about that and it looks like it's a product that might work for you, contact Dylan. He'll explain it to you from A to Z, and you'll have the right information. And if you want to do that, just give him a call.
Perfect. 630-708-7088. You can text me there as well. And honestly, Larry, I think that people who are, I think I'd go one step farther. I think sometimes people don't know they're a good candidate for reverse mortgages. If you're at 62 or over and think, hey, I don't necessarily know what my answer is, but there's got to be a better answer from a mortgage and a monthly payment standpoint. That's a conversation.
Check it out.
Exactly.
Get the information.
Exactly.
At least you have it all. Hey, a couple of things real quick. We're going to take a break in a second here. Before we do, I just want to thank our segment sponsors again. Benchmark Mortgage, Dylan Kramer. You want a great pre-approval. You need that before you start looking or before you start looking in earnest. I'm not saying you can't go out and look at a few houses and see what's out there, but when you're ready to buy, you better have a solid pre-approval. Give Dylan a call at the number he just gave you. You can text him or call him at that number. One more time.
630-708-7088.
Okay, and our other sponsor, I really want to thank, near and dear to my heart, At Home Title Services, athometitleservices.com. Listen, if you are a real estate broker or agent in Illinois and you want to add registered title agent to your menu of services that you offer sellers, save them money, and offer them an extremely important service, check out October 18th. Go to athometitleservices.com and sign up for the virtual event on October 18th and find out how to become and get trained for free to become a registered title agent. You can call me directly on that as well at 630-921-0611. And, of course, TrustedAgentUSA.com. If you want to work with the best realtors in your area, agents that have been doing this forever and save thousands and thousands of dollars, whether you're buying, selling, or investing, go to TrustedAgentUSA.com, click on any link to get started. And we're going to take a quick break now and come back and talk more about reverse mortgages.
Tune in to Real Estate Radio Saturdays at 9 a.m. hosted by the real estate therapist Larry Shakman, a top-producing real estate broker, author, CEO, and founder of TrustedAgentUSA.com. Top-performing agents for 2% commission, saving you thousands when you sell, buy, or invest. Real Estate Radio, the ultimate real estate radio experience. Get insider tips from experts throughout the real estate industry. Streaming live on Facebook at WCPT 820. Trusted Agent USA Illinois, license number 475-145-795. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio, sponsored in part by TrustedAgentUSA.com, the ultimate real estate matchmaker, saving you thousands. Now back to Larry, the real estate therapist.
All right, you guys, welcome back. And once again, thanks for joining us on Real Estate Radio. We're here every Saturday, 9 to 10 a.m. on WCPT 820 a.m., where facts matter. And facts matter in real estate, too. So get the facts on...
We're going to get the facts on reverse mortgages today. We're still talking about that, for sure. I like it.
Before we get right back into that, I want to remind everybody, 773-763-9278. If you think you know what the replacement cost is on a $2.25 million home that we have listed in Wheaton, I'll be doing an open house at this Sunday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's at 2 South 200. Hang on a second here. My brain is failing me. 2 South 200 Hawthorne Lane in Wheaton. If you think you can guess the replacement cost of that house as of December 2022, when, again, lumber rates were a little higher, give us a call, 773-763-9278. If you're within $100,000 of what that replacement cost is, you're going to win a $50 gift certificate to Freedom Brothers Pizzeria and Ale House, and they have an amazing, amazing menu of specialty pizzas. If you love pizzas, if you love rock and roll, and check out the Erotic Vulture, an amazing margarita. Okay, I'm not urging anyone to start drinking or anything.
You spend any length of time in the real estate business, you'll start drinking.
You'll be drinking shortly. Yes. Okay, so let's get back into reverse mortgages.
Fantastic. I want to talk, Larry, a little bit about kind of the advantages of using a reverse mortgage for the right person who's over 62. For buying their next piece of property, especially in a situation like we've talked about it in the last segment where you're downsizing. The first thing is, look, let's not bury the lead. The reverse mortgage is a really cool product because it allows you to experience homeownership with optional monthly mortgage payments, right? So at the end of the day, if your mortgage interest over the course of the last month was $1,000, in a normal mortgage, you got to pay that $1,000, and you've got to pay whatever the amortizing balance is to knock it down, right? In this situation, you can just say, look, add the $1,000 to the balance, and they'll add it to the balance, and that'll go on for the next month or the month after. And again, you could have optional mortgage payments and not make them for 6 months or a year, come into a lump sum of money, pay it down, or you can kind of let it run and experience that easier monthly cash flow. One of the clients that we worked with recently literally was introduced by his son for the reverse mortgage. He was in a tighter financial situation. He's a little less well off than some of the clients I think we're talking about it being a perfect target. But the thing is that he had Social Security income and a little bit of savings and was making a mortgage payment and was so strapped for cash that he was cutting his medication in half because he was trying to make it go twice as far, right? Yeah. So he'd get 30 days of pills and then cut them in half and just taking half the dose. And the doctor's like, why is this not working? And the son is like, what are you doing with these drugs? When he came over to visit dad, got us introduced to him. And now he doesn't have, it literally was a $600 a month mortgage payment. And so we were able to relieve the burden of that payment and let him kind of go back to being more normal in terms of his day-to-day living. The optional monthly mortgage payment is a great flexibility when you're buying a house. The qualifications for a reverse mortgage to get one are less stringent than a traditional or forward mortgage.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Well, give me an example of where the qualifications for a reverse mortgage is different than for a 30-year mortgage.
So I have at least two, maybe three, if another one pops into my head. The first one is you don't necessarily need to be employed, right? Your employment verification, and that's because you don't have to make a payment. So there are some rules around that, right? Because you still have tax, insurance, HOA obligations if those exist. So you have to have some income, although there are workarounds for that. So the employment is not as necessary in one situation. The other thing is, again, because there's, the loan is largely based on equity, right? Mm-hmm. The equity that you have in the house or the down payment. Mm-hmm. There's also less stringency in terms of quality of your credit. So, not that you can't be out there, with a 438 credit score and not be paying anybody on any of your bills. Mm-hmm. But if you've had some financial challenges over the course of the last, even as much as missed mortgage payments, mm-hmm. you could still qualify for a reverse mortgage. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. If you've missed mortgage payments and they'll do the math, and they may require you to set aside the taxes and insurance as part of the proceeds or as part of the loan setup, right? So you might have to put money aside to pay the taxes on an ongoing basis, mm-hmm. And would mean that you got a lower reverse mortgage cash balance because they were reserving some proceeds mm-hmm. for those taxes and insurance. But again, less stringent. There's a way to work it out when there's not a way to work it out on a traditional forward mortgage.
So that's something to keep in mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is for the buyer that we've discussed, who's kind of that move down buyer, right? Mm-hmm. It really can enhance their buying power. In the example that we used in the last segment, if you're trying to move from a $600,000 property to a $400,000 property, at the end of the day, if you are not finding a monthly payment situation you can make tenable at $400,000, again, because rates are up, mm-hmm. right? So you might have the same payment on $400,000 in today's market that you had on $600,000 3 years ago in that market. Mm-hmm. You may be able to take a reverse mortgage and replace a portion of that proceeds and not have to make a monthly payment on that. You're keeping your buying power at that $400,000 rather than $350,000 or $300,000, where you're not getting the type of property that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Listen, it looks like we're not going to have anybody call in with that replacement cost. So me and you are going to have to go spend $50 on erotic vultures. And that is not a metaphor for anything. That is actually a margarita. So
it's a tough question this week.
It's a tough question. So I'm just going to give you the answer right now.
And we're going to say it's 2.5?
So if you have a 2.2, we have a 2.25, Michael Lafito has a $2.25 million listing in Wheaton, 2 South 200. I'll be doing an open house on 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. this Sunday. And if you wanted to replace that property at December 2022 prices, you are going to replace that property for about a little under $4 million, $3.979 million.
Is that from the insurance company, or is that where does that data come from?
Well, yeah, that's coming from the insurance company and others. Okay. Where if you want to take that house and replace it in today's market or in December's market, which is now a little bit less probably.
So you're telling me I could spend $4 million so that I could sell it for 2.25?
Well, there you go. So buy that house, come by, bring your black card, put some money down. You can buy a $2.25 million house that, if you wanted to build it, would cost you almost $4 million and take you 3 years to do probably in this market.
Yeah, you're there.
Yeah, so there it is.
Awesome.
We had a great.
This has been another great session on the couch. Larry.
Great session on the couch. I want to remind everybody, if you are a real estate agent in Illinois, you cannot afford, literally, you cannot afford to miss the free virtual event put on by At Home Title Services on October 18th. Learn how to become a registered title agent, offer these amazing services to your sellers, save them a ton of money. And, so check that out, October 18th, at HomeTitleServices.com, or you can go to TrustedAgentUSA.com, click on our partners, and you could reach Dylan through there by clicking on Benchmark Mortgage. You could also reach At Home Title Services through there as well. One more time, Dylan, if people need to get pre-approved or have any other questions about mortgages, how are they getting in touch with you?
Call or text 630-708-7088.
Awesome. And if you guys want to get in touch with me, if you want to get started out in investing, we're going to start a boot camp here in about another month. It's going to be a 6-week boot camp. And if you want to learn how to get into investing, what is the 70% rule? How do you evaluate a home? And this is going to be a combination of Zoom meetings and physical visits to homes that we will evaluate and show you exactly how you can get into real estate investing.
I love this.
So yeah, listen, give me a call at 630-921-0611. You can text me at that number too if you're thinking about getting into real estate. And hey, by the way, the show that follows us, Where Are They Now? Hey, listen, check them out. They're coming on in another couple of minutes here. I want to wish you guys a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in, and Real Estate Radio, we'll see you again next week at 9 a.m. sharp.
Thanks, Larry.
All right, see you guys.
Thanks for joining us on Real Estate Radio with your host, Larry Shakman, the real estate therapist and top producing broker. Now, go to TrustedAgentUSA.com and save thousands when you sell, buy, or invest. Illinois license number 475145795. Tune in next week for the ultimate real estate radio experience.